Welcome to the Film Steins, the double feature podcast. Join us as we unravel the interwoven experience of the continuous conversation of cinema. Take part in pairing movies with their cursed counterparts, movies that share DNA, or even pairing questionable duos by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/filmsteins. We offer tiers at the $1, $5, and $20 level, where the $5 tier will grant the ability to request films to further the discussion. So grab some popcorn, sit back, and get ready to join the 100-year conversation. This is the Film Steins, where movies are more than just entertainment, they're an experience. All around you. And welcome back to another episode of the Film Steins. Thank you guys for joining us. Today, I am joined by my imaginary friend, Lucy.
Hello, everyone. If you can hear me.
You can join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for brand new episodes of the Film Stein. Some recent episodes include Richard Jewell, All of Us Strangers, our double feature episode of Dune 1 and 2, and our Film Steins award ceremony. Remember to leave nice comments, thoughts, and ideas over on our Patreon at patreon.com/filmsteins. Leave nice reviews on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. Come subscribe for $1. We appreciate all the support. Thank you guys.
Are you stressed and filled with anxiety like I am? Maybe in a bit of pain from that car accident you had a few years ago? Well, the sponsor of today's episode, Hempville CBD, has us covered. They have the highest quality products created by chemists and doctors. Hempville carries everything from CBD to THC dispensary grade without those despicable dispensary prices. Order your Delta 8, 9 edibles and vapes along with the THCA flower and get free shipping when you spend $50 or more at HempvilleCBD.com. Check out the link in the description for more details.
But today we are discussing the most unimagined film of 2024, Jeff Wadlow's Imaginary. I'm just going to say right off the top, the trailer is the best part of this movie.
Damn, you went there.
This movie's bad, and that's fine on some level. I felt it had a hard time justifying why it wanted to do anything it wanted to do. It felt like a short film that was somehow awarded a few $1 million, and they were like, all right, go make a movie, and this is what we got. Not totally unlike Countdown.
The fuck are we talking about now?
But I am curious how you felt about this movie.
Let's start off by saying we went to the movie theater to watch this film. And this is probably one of the worst movie theater experiences I've had in my life. There were a couple of kids, I don't know, they're probably teenagers, and they were being so disruptive that I had a very hard time focusing 100% on the film. I already have a hard time focusing on films at movie theaters just because I'm antsy sometimes. But these two kids were super disruptive, kept walking around all over the movie theaters, sitting at different seats, pulling out their phone, recording things, flashing the flashlight at each other, walked in and out of the movie theater. They'll be gone for like 15 minutes and come back in, and they'd bring food with them. I mean, it was completely disruptive. And it was just 1 and then 2 and then 3. I mean, it was chaotic. So I tried my best to pay attention to the film because I was very excited for this after seeing the trailer. And I like the concept here. I like the idea of kind of villainizing or demonizing imaginary friends that you have as kids. Because that's pretty cool. It's already kind of a creepy thing that kids do, have imaginary friends. I don't know if I had imaginary friends, but I had stuffed animals that were my friends. I don't know if that's quite the same thing. Like I had, a little duck stuffed animal that would come with me everywhere. It would also get, a cookie if I had an extra cookie or that sort of thing. But it wasn't like nothing existed and then I just had a air friend. Does that make sense? I didn't have that.
Yeah, Jessica asks, I can't remember who, the same question to one of these characters, if a toy is an imaginary friend. And someone says no. I think it's her sister. She's like, no, that's not an imaginary friend. That's just normal or something like that. But
having an actual imaginary friend, someone that you're like, hey, my friend was standing right there, and there wasn't any kind of tangible physical representation of a friend there, that's kind of creepy already. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
So I love the idea of this. The idea of your imaginary friend kind of wanting to kill you or take over you or get you to do something you don't want to do. So I was excited for this. I thought it would fall into those, guilty pleasure movies for me, like Countdown obviously has.
Countdown was super committed, and that's the big difference between this and that. I felt like this movie forgot some of its exposition, but please continue.
But it didn't fall into my guilty pleasure categories. There was something there that just was missing. And I think it might be what you're saying here, that there's some films that know they're bad, but they're going to commit to it 100% with everything.
Because correct me if I'm wrong, early on it kind of felt like this movie had something to say about that relationship you have with an imaginary friend and maybe how trauma can kind of affect your childhood. But it did land in just imaginary friends becoming demonized and trying to kill you, capture you, or whatever.
Yeah, I can definitely see that, because there was a conversation that Jessica and Max have, and Max tells us about his imaginary friend and how they would create bombs together. I don't know what he said about bombs with his imaginary friend. So there was something there. And then I think there's something also kind of there with Jessica being a children's book writer and having the trauma from her dad and trying to put that in there. Not that Simon, that spider she recreated, was an imaginary friend, but kinda haunted her in her nightmares. And then we had that video when the doctor came about that little boy that was missing his finger, and there were other people's imaginary friends thrown into this story too. That would make it feel like that there's something to say here about your relationship with imaginary friends.
And then it seems like they just kind of forgot to say something, because in Countdown it's very clear. There's this neat app. It tells you when you're gonna die. You do it, and then you're like, well, maybe I can change that outcome, and then you do, and then you fuck up the EULA, the user agreement, and then death's coming for you, one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
That's the movie, right? And then, of course, the movie has to be us outsmarting death. That makes complete sense.
Yes.
Okay. By the end of the movie, I forgot Jessica was even a children's book writer. It's like Jessica's whole existence in this film was just to reveal to us
that step-parents suck.
that she can see the teddy bear too.
Which was a good reveal.
Yeah, it's a fine twist.
Yes.
And they set that up more than anything else in the movie. But that's not, cinematic payoff. That's...
Yeah, it almost felt like they were over-explaining things in a way without accurately explaining those things or having a concise idea of what the things they were explaining to us. That just kind of jumbled in my head, like, I don't really know what you're trying to say here. So I'm just going to treat this as a scare movie, you trying to scare me, which it fell flat for that too. I think there was maybe one jump scare for me. And it was when she was looking under the bed and the little girl popped out. And I jumped. Sure, I'll admit it.
Well, it's kind of unfair because that's the part of the movie where things are still becoming established. And
yes.
So you're at the edge of your seat.
It's a cheap jump scare in the beginning, but it's fine.
But then when the older daughter's boyfriend love interest comes to the house and, he gets scared a couple times, it's like now Chauncey's just playing.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing really building to this. Is Chauncey even dangerous? It's just like, you didn't set anything up in this realm. I guess that's why we often see that like false intro in a lot of films, a lot of horror films, to establish that the bad guy is violent or dangerous in some way or another, right? And here they try to get cutesy and give you a false ending. Oh, everything's nice, and then no, she's still in an imaginary world. Okay.
Which that was a good plot twist too. I don't know what you're trying to say here.
It's just like, why? Why anything? Nothing makes sense in this movie. And then the only person who gives us like proper exposition is kind of like what you said earlier when we were watching it. She's unreliable. The old lady.
Yeah, Gloria.
Like, okay, she was there when Jessica was a kid, and she was like telling us about how Jessica would have this imaginary friend and talk about going on a trip too. But I think she's also the same person to tell us that you can literally demonize imaginary friends if their relationship ended prematurely. So it's just like, okay, but you're also unreliable. So it's just like, now we've got kind of contradicting plot points coming from the most unreliable character in the movie, but she's the only character giving us
anything.
anything. So it's
Yeah.
just like, what the fuck is going on?
Right. It's not like we have reliable information but one unreliable character, and then, we can put context clues together because we're, we have a brain, human beings, but it really goes nowhere with that.
In retrospect, this movie almost makes me applaud Countdown a little bit more because of how committed it is to its
Good.
stupid idea, so it's just like, man, what went wrong?
And it sucks because I thought the idea of it was awesome. I thought the performances were, good enough for
No.
a horror movie like this, if they had committed like Countdown or something.
Yeah.
But that was it.
I thought DeWanda Wise was garbage. She was bad in Jurassic Dominion or whatever the stupid movie was.
Now you're attacking. Today's just an attack my movies day.
I'm attacking shitty movies today.
No.
These are all equally shitty too.
They're not. Oh my god, I quit.
She's terrible. This little kid was terrible. The older daughter was terrible.
You thought the little kid was terrible.
Yes.
Oh.
The dad was terrible. The grandma, not the grandma,
The old lady?
The old lady was okay, but she was all of a sudden frustrating. She was like, what are you? What kind of character are you? I like that she was this rejected academic studying imaginary friends across different cultures and stuff. That was fun. It's very similar to the scene in Countdown with the priest guy giving us the rundown on this death character. He had a name, right? Very fun.
But that's the performances you can expect here. They're not award-winning performances.
No, it is.
But they are what they are for this type of genre.
But in this very moment, Countdown is my reference, and I just see much more personality even in that than this.
Even compared to Jeff Wadlow's other films, I wasn't too mad at Truth or Dare.
I haven't seen that.
Okay. I mean, it's not my favorite, but maybe I just like this type of genre, bad, guilty pleasure movies. I don't know how else to describe them because they're on the cusp of suspense more than they are of horror. Because I also like those movies, Happy Death Day. Those are some of my favorite movies. Maybe I wouldn't recommend them as like something to study, of course, but I'd recommend them to put them on, Halloween night, you're passing out candy. It's like those types of movies, like pastime movies.
Sure, I'd almost put.
But this movie is not there for me, for sure. It was definitely missing something. Maybe that commitment to what you are. You know what you are. Commit to it.
And there was no personality with these characters.
Chauncey had the best personality here.
Chauncey did have the most personality. That's true. Like, even her dad was a little better than the main cast.
That's funny. He was there for what, 10 minutes?
Yeah. And that's a fun idea, too, of being kind of like literally brainwashed by pure imagination, and it makes you lose your mind. That's fun. Like her dad.
Yeah, I like that you bring that up because I almost wish that Jessica would have gotten a little bit of that because she was exposed to all those, I don't know, visuals that the creature was trying to give onto her like they did the dad. I almost wish that we would have gotten a glimpse of her being at least a little mentally unstable from that experience.
But nothing happened. I guess except that we lost the old woman.
Yes. How did you feel about Chauncey as a bear? Specifically, how he looked. Was he creepy? Was he scary?
The big Chauncey?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I appreciate them not abusing Chauncey and showing him too much too early. They did pretty good about that. That's a problem with these types of movies is you see too much too early.
Mm-hmm.
And like so many things, horror is definitely a less is more situation. But Chauncey looked cool. They obviously didn't know how to manipulate the puppet suit thing because it didn't really move, which is the problem.
I saw a few reviews that were basically shit talking how he looked, that they appreciated the practical effect sides of it, but he just looked like super silly with those big eyes and just making him kind of comical scary and not actually scary. Which I don't think I quite agree with that, but maybe because I'm a scaredy cat.
I mean, it has everything to do with how it's used. Everything can be scary if it's used properly.
That's very true.
So I don't really take that as much. They're exposing their, unengagement with it because they didn't engage with something we cared about. We definitely didn't care about Jessica or the little girl. And it did kind of become funny because it's just like, I mean, I want to say like just, kind of shock for shock value's sake, but we didn't even really get anything. So like
I feel like we got enough to not make this movie totally shit. I gasped enough and I, grimaced enough to where I can't say this movie is complete shit.
This movie was made for you.
This movie was made for me. I guess that's what we're getting to.
Or at least this style. Of course, there's still some hit and misses in there, but
because that scavenger hunt with the little girl, I thought that was very cool, especially when she was about to jam her freaking hand onto that nail, which is part of the trailer. So they understood that they had the best part to share to the world to get them to come to the movie theater. And that scene where Taylor, I think the teenage girl, she's in Never Ever and she's in a room and the little carousel music thingy is playing and spinning and they're playing with the shadows and that shadow of a teddy bear is about to shine onto Chauncey. That got me.
To be fair, they did so many fake out scares where nothing happened that you might as well have thought nothing was going to happen in that moment too. So they were kind of manipulative there in a funny way. But those things would have been much more effective and fun if you liked any of the characters.
That's very true.
If there was any other setup for what was going to happen, like what was happening. They were just, okay, they were trying to get the little girl back, right? And then get out. I don't know what else more I want out of that, but I hope they all get stuck in there, really. I hope hope the dad just gets a reset.
Dang. So do you think they set this up for a sequel?
I mean, yeah, they left it open enough for anything to happen, I guess. But like contextually, they didn't leave anything open for a sequel. So they left the monster up for a sequel, I guess. But just in case, it makes $100 million, right? But I bet the filmmakers hope there isn't a sequel. Because they were like, oh man, we got this money. We're going to be able to make this shitty film. We're all getting paid, having fun making the movie, I'm sure. But the film writers and the director and stuff are probably like,
I hope people don't like this enough for a sequel.
Yeah,
we won't know what to do.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. They'll pass it on to someone else, of course. Some second derivative director will get it. I guess third derivative, really. He's kind of the second derivative, Jeff here. I did get a hint of Insidious in this. I don't know if it was like the color grading or just the sound effects and stuff. Obviously, Insidious is probably among the top 3 most influential films when it comes to Blumhouse stuff. It is kind of the golden child of the Blumhouse catalog.
Yeah, but so is James Wan. He's also the golden child of the Blumhouse crew.
James Wan should come up with his own horror pipeline, like Jason Blum.
Yes. And
call it Wanhouse.
Yes. That's genius.
They can be rivals.
That'd be awesome, actually. Because I'd be for that.
Yeah, I would too. That'd be fun. That'd be a fun literal rivalry for cheap ass horror movies. Because I think Jason Blumhouse produces every Blumhouse film in some way or another. Very busy dude, no doubt. But yeah, a large miss. I wasn't expecting too much out of this movie, to be completely fair. I did figure the trailer would be the best part, but I wanted to be surprised. I'm open to be surprised. But it felt very clear to me the concept got in the way of the film, and they just didn't know what to do with it. It felt like a 20-minute short, and I bet that 20-minute short that exists on some storyboard is decent. But then they were like, all right, how do we fluff this out to an hour and a half? This is how we do it, I guess. But congratulations to making a movie, everyone.
Damn.
Do you have a budget guess for me here today?
I do. My budget guess is $5 million.
I'd be shocked if it was more than $5 million.
It looked good. It didn't have that bad horror movie vibe, at least cinematography-wise. So that's why I think it's on the more expensive side. I don't know, just something gave me this actually looks like a like it could be a good movie. So I went with 5 million.
Like when you're looking at screenshots?
Yes, exactly. Or like 10-second clips.
Well, it says here that the budget was 10 to 12 million. I don't know how. Hereditary cost $10 million, and then you get this out of potentially more. But it went on to make, still at theaters, go check it out if you have nothing else to do. It's currently at 20.8 million. So it's definitely going to make a little bit of money when everything is said and done. And you'll be happy to know that the Letterboxd score reflects, I think, mostly what we've said here today. With 22,000 people, hey, very small number, we're one of them. They weighed in at a 2.1.
Yeah, I gave it a 2. You know, I wouldn't watch it again, like I would Countdown or Happy Death Day. Would I recommend someone to go watch it? Probably not. Like you said, if you have nothing to do, maybe you go on a Tuesday when it's half priced, or you wait for it to come on a streaming service. Sure, go ahead. But other than that, I don't know. I hate that it's such a miss because there were quite a few things in there that I really liked, but didn't like it enough and didn't flow enough, wasn't concise enough, or committed enough.
Yeah, this is a solid 1 out of 5 for me.
A 1, not a half. All right. We're on to something here.
But thank you for watching this movie with me, man, and talking about it here today.
Thank you. You're welcome.
And thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Filmistines. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember, we post every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday over on patreon.com/Filmistines, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora. Remember to leave nice comments, thoughts, and ideas. Come request a movie. Come subscribe to our Patreon. We appreciate all the support. Thank you guys. But until next time, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Filmistines. Thanks for tuning in and joining us on our cinematic journey. We hope you enjoyed the discussion and gained some new insights and perspectives in the world of movies. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform, especially Patreon at patreon.com/Filmistines. And follow us on social media for more film-related content. We love hearing from our listeners, so if you have any feedback, suggestions, movie recommendations, or book recommendations, please feel free to reach out to us. Until next time, keep watching, keep loving the magic of movies. This is the Filmistines, signing off.